Hey guys, welcome back to Monstrous Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today we are going over a tournament review. I played in a mini GT, 4 games, and I brought my Hierophant for his first 4 games ever. I'll go over in this video the list I used with him, how I thought to maximize him the best. I will also go over the battles, just a mini recap of each game I played, the results, how I fared in the overall tournament, and what I could say out of it going forward is some pros and cons, things for you guys to take from it. Now, if that all sounds good, do consider liking and subscribing to stay all up to date on our content here at Monstrous Gaming Studios. And if you really want to help support the growth of this channel, do consider becoming a member. Click the little join button down below. You do gain access to member exclusive videos and our exclusive Discord channel for members, and many more other little things. So with all that out of the way, let's dive into today's video. So in today's video, we're gonna do a breakdown, like I said, of each game. I will go over my list. I don't have it in a PowerPoint form here, but I will put it in the description below, so if you want to see the exact detailed list in text form, I will put that there for you guys. I'll go over my MVP of the list and how I plan to use this going forward, if I want to use this going forward, and some of their takeaways here and there. So let's first go over the list. I have it here up on Battlescribe, because Battlescribe is awesome. It is Hive Fleet Leviathan, Crusher Stampede, I should say that outright. We have 3 HQs. We have a Hive Tyrant. He is equipped with Adrenal Glands, pair of Monstrous Boneswords, and Monstrous Rending Claws, because the Rending Claws are cheap. He also has wings. This allows him to come in at a whopping 210 points. I did pay to give him the the Adaptive Physiology of Murderous size, and I gave him the Relic of the Synaptic Hive Blades to ignore in-bone saves, which did come in clutch in many of the games. We then had a Neurothrope. I gave him the Relic of, Psychic Power. I should go over the Hive Tyrant's Psychic Powers, Synaptic Barrier, and Aggressive Surge. The Neurothrope, the Void Crown, I gave him Synaptic Barrier and Infused Energies, but really he was there for Synaptic Barrier, and the Void Crown was big, and I'll touch on that later. Then we had the Swarmlord. He has Onslaught and Catalyst. Again, Swarmlord is a Swarmlord. Hard to leave home without him, especially in the Crusher Stampede list. Troop choices, nice and simple. We have 3 units of 3 warriors. 2 of them had Bioweapon Bond, and 1 of them didn't. I would put the Bioweapon Bond on the 3rd unit if I had the points, but I just didn't have anywhere to shave points off of it, so that is what we went with there. Fast attack, we had Raveners, just a unit of 3. They helped with securing some midfield objectives, engaging all front, any actions that need to be done. But bare bones, technically, yes, I could have given them Death Spitters or Rending Claws, but I just I guess I did. They had Rending Claws, so. But honestly, they didn't do anything all games in terms of killing potential, though they were important. Heavy support, we have a Moloch. I really liked the Moloch's performance in this game. It helped me kill a lot of key characters or weaken them, as well as securing some objectives for my opponent. And we had a side hero duel, an absolute menace for the Tyranids right now. Probably one of our most points efficient unit, especially in a Crusher Stampede list. Then, after all that, we have the Hierophant. And even though I'm playing Crusher Stampede where he's got a lot of durability buffs, I still went ahead and paid the CP to give him an Adaptive Physiology of Dermic Symbiosis. Did it matter in 3 of the 4 games? No, but in the 1 game where it did matter, it was a big deal. So I do recommend, because he is just about half your army, I do recommend going for the Dermic Symbiosis to make his guns that much effective for that much longer in the game. So that's the list. Overall, pretty happy with how it turned out. Actually, very happy, but we'll go over to the rest of the tournament. So this was a mini GT, as we'll call it. There were 4 games. It was supposed to be 5 games, but at the end of the 4th game, there was only 1 guy who was undefeated. So we decided, hey, instead of stretching it out to 5 games, because we did 4 games in one day, let's just not play the 5th game and everyone was cool with that for the most part. So I ended up going 3-1, and my one loss was to the guy who went undefeated and won the tournament. Going off battle points wise, I ended up with 6th out of 32, though I like to say 2nd because I lost to the guy who won. But yeah, got 324 points overall the 4 games, average of 81. We'll go over those lists. There was a lot of players, a lot of great armies there, lots of Marines, lots of Marines, whether it was Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Grey Knights, Ultramarines. I said Blood Angels already. There's one other one. Salamanders, couple Salamanders. There was a ton. Space Wolves, of course. Can't forget the Space Wolves. They won it. Lots of Marines there. 1,400 players, all of us playing Crusher Stampede. I would say 2 of them had very similar lists with Harpies and Harusfexes. Actually, no, I guess we all had pretty different lists. We had a guy who was running Harpies, Exocrines, and a Scythe Hierodual, along with, Flying Hive Tyrant and Swarmlord. We had a guy who was running Harusfexes, Flying Hive Tyrant, Swarmlord, Harpies, no Hieroduals. We had another guy who was running Trigons and Flying Hive Tyrant, Swarmlord, Hieroduals is there. And then there was me with the Hierophant and just a few other, Hive Tyrant, Swarmlord, Hierodual. Very common builds for the Tyranids, but still all different flavors of Tyranids. We had 4,000 Suns players, which was awesome to see. And we had 4 Custodes players. There was also just, a mix of everybody else. Only 1 Tau player. A lot of us were talking, saying we were expecting, many railguns. There was one railgun in the whole tournament, so didn't have anything to worry about, which definitely, I think, did contribute to how the Hierophant did, but more on that later. So game 1, we'll go over this, was against a super heavy Ork list. It was a 94-30 victory for the Tyranids. He had 2 kill tanks, which if you don't know they are very big Ork combat threats, which also carry guys inside. He had a Morkanaut and just, boys, tank bustas, war boss, weird boy, all sorts of things, common Orky things after those. It was really cool to see because we had such few models on our game. It finished very quick. I went for my secondaries, Stranglehold, Psychic Ritual, and Grind them down. 94 points. I achieved everything to the max except Grind them down. I only got 4 of the 5 turns because I technically tabled him turn 4, so I could not score at turn 5. Scythe Hierodual was the MVP. I did win the... No, I didn't. I went 2nd, and my Scythe Hierodual absorbed a lot of damage. He tried shooting the big Hierophant. Did some damage, but not nearly as much as I was expecting. And he played very defensively, which allowed my Hierodual to zoom up there and stall a good chunk of his army for a while the Hierophant just went around and shot things to pieces. And the Neurothrope with the Void Crown did his thing. Overall, I mean, there's not much else to say. It was a great game. It was very quick, very brutal. Things died, things exploded. The Flying Hive Tyrant zoomed up, sliced apart the war boss, then proceeded to get murdered by all the other ones. But it was, it got me what I needed for points of grind them down, and that's all I could really say. So game 1, 94-30 victory, almost a perfect game. Game 2 against Space Wolves. So this was the guy who won the game. His list, if you want an exact list, I think I do it in my very first RTT review, where the Tyranids, I won that one. The Tyranids went 3-0. His list, and this player was the guy who I was playing for first place. And it's the exact same list. It's a very powerful list, plays the objective very well as contends in close combat and in range a little bit. He kicked my butt. I had a couple things go very poorly at the start of the game. I had my Hierodual. I admit I got a little greedy. I tried to multi-assault with the Hierodual instead of taking a 4-inch charge. I opted for a 7-inch charge to try and tag in intercessors and Blade Guard. The thought was I could use the Mortal Wound strat to nuke half the Blade Guard and then slice up the Intercessors. However, I failed a 7-inch charge and I rerolled it with a command point, failed that one again. We talked about it after the game, and that mistake probably cost me the game because those Intercessors went on to do a significant amount of damage in the secondary and primary portion of the game. So unfortunate, but some other things. Swarmy. Oh, Swarmy. Swarmy went toe-to-toe with 4 Thunderhammer Stormshield Terminators for 7 rounds of combat. He couldn't wound. I couldn't spend the CP to keep using Voracious Appetite for rolling my failed wound rolls. I figured surely, maybe I wouldn't wipe them all off in 1 round of combat. 2 or 3 I thought for sure, but 7 rounds of combat this Terminator squad. And it was only 4 because the Moloch popped up and nuked one of them, so that was easy. But yeah, that cost me because that kept Swarmlord tied up in the corner of the game for the whole game, and he couldn't go around and do the rest of things in order to, killing the Intercessors that were scoring objectives, killing some of the key characters. He just was locked in and couldn't do it. So unfortunate that Swarmy was put in that position, but it's okay. Overall, the game was good. I had I don't know if I said this, 44 to 87. My secondaries were Psychic Ritual, Strangle, and Grind, and most of my points came from Psychic Ritual and Grind. He, at the end of the game, only had 1 Intercessor from 1 squad and a unit of 5 Intercessors in the corner. I had Swarmy, my Neurothrope, and my Hierophant still alive and kicking very well. But yeah, those were most of my points came from. I did score some primary and some of the bonus points, but it just didn't go my way, and that is what it is. Thus, the nature of 4-up invuln saves. Game 3, Ultramarines. It was a 97, so with the secondaries, I took a perfect game to 49. Good opponent again. I never really, or at least our community, have to complain about the opponent or feel any need to even want to complain about the opponent. All of them are great. This was a good test for the big Hierophant. He had 2 Volkite Contemptors. He had the Seal of Oath, and those Volkite Contemptors had the missiles on top of them as well. So for those of you Tyranid players who don't know what the Seal of Oath is he picks 1 enemy unit, and everything gets to reroll hits and wounds against that target. I believe if they are within range of who has the Seal of Oath, which was his captain, I think is how that worked. Anyway, rerolling all his hits and wounds against the Hierophant, because obviously what else would he pick? Man, he was getting mortal wounds like crazy. Thankfully, Crusher Stampede, the damage 2 shots got reduced down to damage 1, so whenever I failed one of those, it wasn't that big of a deal. But the mortal wounds started to add up really fast. I will say this guy shined. He had one of the coolest moment of the game was he had his 2 Volkite Contemptors moving up on the board, 1 on kind of each side of a building. He had a land speeder, and he had a group of infiltrators holding one of the corner objectives. He lost, I don't know, it was like 14 wounds in the first round of shooting, and then he stepped up, shot 1 gun at the Volkite Contemptor, shot another gun at another Volkite Contemptor, used his flamethrower, or acid spray, whatever you want to call it, on the squad of infiltrators. I paid the 2 CP to increase the damage on all of his weapons, and he killed, wiped them all out, and then charged this land speeder and smashed it in a single hit. Oh, it was glorious. And then, he still had more of his army. He had Eradicators, which absolutely obliterated Swarmlord because I got greedy, went for a long bomb charge, but, in the end, it's okay. Again, MVP would be the Hierophant. He did do a significant amount of damage, even though he was brought all the way down to a single wound. having the Dermic Symbiosis on him along with Bioweapon Bond really made it so this thing just kept on shooting an insane amount of damage. The Neurothrope did Psychic Ritual, though it was a little trickier against him because he did have Tigurius, and Tigurius does a great job of denying Psychic Ritual. So it made it tricky, but I did score it fully in the end. Strangle and Grind again, I had an ability to just be mobile, secure all of my objectives. He did play very aggressive. He had one of those Dreadnought suit things, not the Dreadnought that's not a Dreadnought, the Scout Dreadnought, and Infiltrators on another flank, and he deployed them as aggressive as possible and went after my hero duel turn 1. Big mistake. I guess he didn't totally realize the potential of a hero duel, even though I questioned, like, you sure you want to do it? He's like, yeah, let's do it. Go for the kill. Hero duel took like 6 wounds and then turned around and beat the Dreadnought into pieces. But yeah, so again, good game. Happy to play Ultramarines as the base got to be shown off against its rightful opponent. And then we move on to game 4 against Custodes. And a lot of people have been asking, how did Tyranids deal with Custodes? And I just have to say, this list is exactly how you deal with Custodes. It just wasn't even close. The Hierophant, he had a big block of bikers with the mini melta guns on them. I don't know what they're called, salvo launchers maybe. Big block of 6 bikes with those. He had 2 of the big dreadnoughts. He had Terminators, lots of characters. The scary bike captain that's got all sorts of kitted out goodness on him. And some Custodian Guard, things like that. Turn 1, I finally went first on this game. Turn 1, the Hierophant obliterated one of the dreadnoughts and severely damaged another one. The Hierophant paired with Swarmy, or Hero Duel paired with Swarmy, zoomed in and did damage to Custodian Guard. He did damage to dreadnoughts. Went toe-to-toe with the characters for a while. And it took him a while to kill that Hero Duel. Meanwhile, this guy's just walking around. The Ignoring Invone's Flyrant did insane work. He had his bike squad move up. He shot at my Flyrant because he knew he ignored Invone, so he had to get it. I paid the 2 CP to give him the Transhuman, which saved a ton of the wounds coming onto the Flying Hive Tyrant. And then Flying Hive Tyrant and Swarmy tag teamed the unit of 6 bikes and wiped all but one of them out in the first round of combat. That bike went away, tried to fly away and get some engaged on front points, and Swarmy swiftly hunted it down and slayed it. The Flyer did die in the end, but man, he did serious number of wounds, and killing that bike unit really was what saved or won me the game, I think, and that was what he said too, is that it destroyed a lot of his mobility. I think he played a little too defensive against this. I mean, Custodes are Custodes, but also Custodes have a lot of damage too. So playing against Crusher Stampede, our monsters just don't really care about mass damage too. So I think is a good in a long way. Again, he had 4 characters, so I went with Mental Interrogation instead. And because of the deployment, I went for Engage on all fronts instead of Stranglehold. Both of them proved to be very good. Again, Mental Interrogation, that Neurothrope, just casting that power every single turn was great. So those were the quick rundown of the games. Hopefully it was decent enough details for you guys to have a general understanding. Now I want to go over a review of the list and how I think it performed. So we'll look at the list here. Again, it doesn't have the exact points or everything, but you can see that in the description. So Swarmlord, how I think he performed, B+. And the only reason I'm really giving him B+ is because in game 2, he just struggled, but that wasn't his fault. It was just pure dice rolls, really. He struggled. And in game 3, he didn't really do anything besides 1 Hive Commander yeet for the Flyrant, and then he got nuked by Eradicators. fine, whatever. He did his job, still won the game. So I just give him a B+ because he really struggled against the Terminators, but that was really dice rolls. Flyrant, A-. He had some good Psychic. Again, the Psychic is very key to this army, making it go from okay to high tier there. He did, though, the ignoring invuln saves, really dealt with some of the key threats, whether it was in Game 2 or Game 1, killing the War Boss, Game 2, killing Thunderhammer Stormshield Terminators or Blade Guard Veterans, and then in Game 4, killing, well, let's see, Game 3, he killed Vanguard Vets with Storm Shields, and in Game 4, he killed the Custodes, all of Invulns. So that was awesome for him. Really did well. He was a little squishy, but overall, A- for him. The Neurothrope. Low-key, this Neurothrope, I think, was the true MVP, though I'll say it's the Hierophant. The true MVP was this Neurothrope. He rocked it. The Void Crown on a Neurothrope, if you can get him to the center, protected by whether it's a big monster like a Hierophant or something else, man, just let him go to town. Void Crown casting 1 power every turn. For me, that was mainly Synaptic Barrier on him or on the Hero Duel, and then casting the Psychic Ritual, the Mental Interrogation. Either way, if you're roughly within the center of the board, you should be able to mentally interrogate any of the characters if your opponent has a decent number of them. Because most of the time you deploy 12 inches away from the center, so you just have to move and advance, and then you should be, as long as you don't roll a 1 on your advance, you should be within 6 inches of the center, and you can just start doing the actions. You only have to do it 3 times, 12 points, done. And because you have the Void Crown, he can keep doing his normal things in terms of casting powers. So yeah, A+ for Neurothrope, he did awesome. Warriors, I'll give them an A. They did exactly what I wanted them to. They sat on the backfield objectives or some of the midfield objectives. They handed out Bioweapon Bond to the big threats, and they did actions where actions were needed. So yes, absolutely. Putting Bioweapon Bond on this guy was big. Hitting on 2s really is nasty for something like this, especially when you have to get him down to 8 wounds with Dermic Symbiosis to bracket him. Scythe Hero Duel, I'll give him an A-. Again, he's a great distraction. Deals with a lot of the initial incoming damage, especially if you get to go first. Otherwise, if you don't go first, your opponent has to deal with, okay, I've got this big 850 point thing. Do I try and whittle it down turn 1 and let the Hero Duel get a turn 1 charge on me, because he's probably going to? Or do you whittle down the Hero Duel turn 1 and then just leave this thing untouched and able to walk around and delete units on his first turn? So combination of those two guys were awesome. So I'll give him an A- just because he failed that 7-inch charge, even though it was my fault with rolling dice. But yeah, A- for him. Raveners, again, I just had a unit of 3 of them. I will give them a B. They helped to score me some primary, secondary points. They did 0 damage though all day. It was really just deploying, sitting on the objectives if I needed to. One game I used him to help screen out the Neurothrope because his other screens had been eliminated. But really, you have to include him in order to do things like Stranglehold or Engage, or maybe some of the action the bonuses to the missions that require doing actions. A unit of Raveners is very key for doing stuff like that. And then the Hierophant, just an absolute weapon. I mean, those 2 guns on him are insane, the amount of damage they can put out. And I mean, they kind of he's 850 points. You'd expect him to do that. But yeah, 850 points, just deletes things left and right. The ability to hit on 2s with Bioweapon Bond is stupid good. And I'm sure it'll probably be changed, go away in the next codex, who knows. But it's just stupid good for a Titan like this to walk around and just not care about ballistic skill for the most part. So, I didn't play any Tau, well, I'll say that. All of the armies I played, besides that Ultramarine player, they were not heavy gunline armies. They were more combat or balanced armies, I'll say. If I played against a heavy Tau army or heavy gunline Tau army, or even an AdMech, maybe even an old style Dark Eldar list, I'm sure he would struggle and maybe not even survive 2 turns. But because I didn't, he did very well. So take that with a grain of salt. When you see what I played against, understand why he did so well. Again, some takeaways, things that you guys could learn from this. I made my secondaries video a week or 2 ago, and I'm double downing on this. I really think, especially in a Crusher Stampede, a Neurothrope with the Void Crown is so crucial to scoring secondaries. You got so many monsters, so many things your opponent has to deal with. Having a Neurothrope just wiggle his way up or float his way up to the center of the board and doing 3 to 5 actions a game, giving you max on a secondary for 95 points and a Relic, absolutely crucial for a Crusher Stampede list right now. Maybe not necessary in Standard Leviathan, but still a strong option for Standard Leviathan. I'll say it again, Hierophant is an absolute beast, and hopefully we get to see him on the channel at some point, maybe this month. We'll see. We're planning our battle reports for the month, so you might see him, you might not, but at some point you will see the Hierophant do his thing on the channel. And then that's about it. I'm happy with the list. Let me know what you guys think in the comment. Have you fielded the Hierophant, and has it absolutely wrecked face for you, or has it had its face wrecked? Let me know down in the comments. And thank you guys for watching. That's been all for this tournament review. We'll hopefully have another one next month, along with many other videos coming forward for you guys here on the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you here next time at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.